And in the UK, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his government will change the direction of the British economy and move away from what he called uncontrolled immigration. Given his keynote speech at the Conservative Party's conference, Johnson promised to end a broken model of low wages and growth. This week's conference in Manchester has taken place amid concerns over rising inflation, supply chain problems, and petrol and worker shortages.
I promised to fix this crisis. And after decades of drift and dither, this reforming government, this can-do government, this government that got Brexit done, that's getting the COVID vaccine rollout done, is going to get social care done. And we are going to deal with the biggest underlying issues of our economy and society, the problems that no government has had the guts to tackle before. And I mean the long-term structural weaknesses in the UK economy. It's thanks to the vaccine rollout that we now have the most open economy and the fastest growth in the G7. We have unemployment 2 million lower than forecast. We have demand surging. And I'm pleased to say that after years of stagnation, more than a decade, wages are going up faster than before the pandemic began. And that matters deeply because we are embarking now on a change of direction that has been long overdue in the UK economy. We're not going back to the same old broken model with low wages, low growth, low skills, and low productivity, all of it enabled and assisted by uncontrolled immigration. And the answer to the present stresses and strains, which are mainly a function of growth and economic revival, is not to reach for that same old lever of uncontrolled immigration, to keep wages low. The answer is to control immigration, to allow people of talent to come to this country, but not to use immigration as an excuse for failure to invest in people, in skills, and in the equipment, the facilities, the machinery. That is the direction in which this country is going now, towards a high-wage, high-skill, high productivity, and yes, thereby a low-tax economy. That is what the people of this country need and deserve, in which everyone can take pride in their work and in the quality of their work. And yes, it will take time. And sometimes it will be difficult. But that was the change that people voted for in 2016. And that was the change that people voted for again powerfully in 2019. And to deliver that change, we will get on with our job of uniting and levelling up across the UK. The greatest project that any government can embark on.
And Arise correspondent LAPE OLARINOYE was listening to the speech, and she joins us now from London for more. LAPE, good afternoon. What were the main takeaways from this speech by Boris Johnson?
Good afternoon to you both. So, of course, the main takeaways from this speech were 5 key areas, and those included the need to increase transport links between the northern part of the country and the south, as well as parts of Wales, so people can travel with ease. And, of course, that would, of course, benefit the economy, an economy that has been lagging behind since the pandemic. And of course, the Prime Minister also touched on the need for education, that no British child should lag behind. He highlighted the need for more state schools to increase their intake on Oxbridge students, referencing a very popular state school that's been increasing in that area called Brampton Manor. And of course, the Education Secretary, Nadeem Zahawi, was beaming at the thought of that. He also touched on climate change and really condemned those protesters that have been gluing themselves to the streets in the last couple of days and stopping urgent care workers from getting to people that were needed. He condemned that quite heavily and disregarded their protests, but also raised the point that the country will be working very hard towards changing the demands of the climate, but wants to work with the people to achieve this goal. And then, of course, he talked about the need for the increase in housing and property purchasing, reassuring many people that there will be 95% mortgages given to people that want to get onto the property ladder, a very pressing issue for many people in the country that are struggling or can't afford to be on the property ladder. So that area was also covered. And then, of course, he spoke about the defence for the British history. They have come under fire a lot of the times for, Winston Churchill's previous utterances. He condemned the need for cancel culture and described it as iconoclasm. And so he really defended that. And that is something that received a roar from the Conservative Party members, something that they have been fighting and championing for. And so those were the areas. But overall, he really focused on building back better, coming back hard from the pandemic. And of course, the increase in skills intake and of course, increase in wages. And so those were the main highlights from that conference today. And of course, as we saw when we watched it, that a lot of the Conservative Party members were cheering him on, and he was receiving a standing ovation at the end of that.
All right, Lagba, what were some of the points the PM didn't include at all?
Well, Aaron, overall, the entire speech was very, very philosophical. They were very, very futuristic. There was no active way described or strategy as to how the country was going to get to this place that he talks of building back better. There was no focus on the current pressing issues for many people who are struggling across the country. We're currently in the middle of a fuel crisis, an energy crisis, as well as a wage crisis. There was no focus on that at all. In fact, it was just very, very promising and reassuring, but actually no proper solution was provided to reassure the people. And so those were the key areas. And just to add on to that, Aaron, it was half the time of the opposition leader, Keir Starmer's speech only last week, who actually did double the time that Boris Johnson did. So there were key, criticisms of the speech. And a lot of people are having concerns, getting closer and closer to Christmas with regards to trade and Brexit trade deals, and none of that was covered, unfortunately. So those were some of the areas that we didn't really get any clarity on.
But it seems he did manage to take a few shots at the opposition Labour Party. How did that go?
Yes, typical, and in a typical Boris Johnson manner, it was very comedic. He commonly calls him Captain Hindsight and took many shots at the Labour leader, saying that the entire Labour Party is very, very pro-increase in taxes. And also the fact that the Labour leader would rather we all still be in lockdown and not getting back into the world of work and improving the economy. And of course, the Labour Party are prioritising public health over the economy. And there were many shots taken at the opposition. But of course, if you watch what Keir Starmer said only last week, there were very, very compromising issues between the two. So the stark difference is there. But of course, as you expect, there were many shots taken at the opposition party.
Yes. So.
Many thanks to you, LAPE.